Hey everyone, welcome back to a Liftoff PM product management mock interview. My name's Kevin Wei, I'm a senior PM, and today we're going to be doing a mock interview on AI evals. We previously had a video on what are AI evals and how product managers can leverage them in their generative AI products. We appreciate all the feedback that we got on that, and so today we have Ankit to help us do a mock interview on an AI evals testing strategy. So now, before we get into the video, Ankit, do you want to just give a quick intro about yourself?
Nice to meet you, Kevin. I'm a lead product manager at CDK Global. We're the largest car dealership software company in United States. Around 3% of the GDP comes through our product portfolio. I lead generative AI, applied AI, and platform AI capabilities at CDK Global, and I've been working in data and AI product management for last 11 years.
Awesome. Thanks, Ankit. Now, before we get into the mock video, for the viewers who are watching at home, I want you to know that Liftoff PM will be your go-to place for all your lessons on interviewing for product management roles. We have lots of free videos on our channel from product sense, product execution, even some of those tricky behavioral questions. And if you're enjoying our free videos, feel free to click the join button below. You can access our premium paid course that contains all of the same content that you would get in paid coaching that would otherwise cost hundreds or thousands worth of dollars. Now, let's get into the mock interview. So, Ankit, the question that I have for you today is, as a PM, how would you set up an AI eval strategy for an internal knowledge tool? And so for this internal knowledge tool, you can think about this kind of like a chatbot that internal employees or internal workers at a company would use to try to get some information from their company.
That's a great question. Let me think about how to set up AI evil strategy for an internal knowledge bot. Let's call it a cobot. So the way I start thinking about it is that I'm gonna break it down into three parts. Number one, we're gonna talk about the strategic context in which this product exists. We're gonna talk about goals, who are the users, what are their needs, and why do you think it makes sense to have an AI eval strategy. Number two, we're gonna do a breakdown of like what are the different components of this knowledge bot so that we can understand like where exactly you really need this AI evals to be put in place. And third, we're going to look at the metrics that make sense. So the way I'm going to focus on that is like I'm going to whiteboard it. So let me share my screen and we can go from there. Cool. First, we're going to write out the prompt here, like strategic context, like what are the things that goes in the strategic context. So the way you will do that is I'm going to start writing it out here. What's the goal here? So the goal here is that you need a fast, convenient, and accurate access to company information, best practices, and resources. So these are the things that you really care as a product manager. Uh, then we talk about like who could be the user personas that we should be focused on. So the user personas are new users who have never been in a company before, customer support reps, HR admin, IT tech because they also have a lot of tickets and they want to look at it. And then finally, sometimes you have like sales reps and business development who really want to see some internal policies for the companies before they meet with some prospective customers. So this was the who. Now we're going to focus on like what exactly are their needs, like what are their jobs to be done. So first,
Cool. And I know for your goal, you mentioned like fast access, accurate access. Is there some way that you quantify that?
so the way you do that is like we're gonna put that in the non-functional requirements that will come in. So there we will be adding those metrics in.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because we want to make sure that when you query a knowledge bot, you don't want to wait for some time. This is not like a deep research that should take 20 to 30 minutes. You should be able to get an answer a lot quickly. So that is number one. Number two, up-to-date context. Uh, this is kind of a RAG-based system, retrieval augmented generation. So sometimes the LLMs will not have this information, the updated one, and if you're looking at internal content, so definitely that information will not be trained by the LLMs which are out there. So that's why you need it to be an up-to-date context. Third, it should be trustworthy. and secure. Finally, that you'll care about is that it has to be personalized and contextual. Because two different people in the company based on like IT tech versus sales BD, they will have a different set of roles and they will have different set of access. So definitely it has to be personalized. So these are the high level goals that we care about. And so the next one is why? Like why we will need evals and like why do you think the normal product metrics won't work here? So first of all, knowledge bot, the way it works is that you get information from a system, and then when you retrieve back, like, so it's going to generate something else also on top of it. It can summarize for you, it can paraphrase it, like it can combine data from different places. So there can be a big response variability in the output. That is why you care about like how you will track that. Number two, there can be knowledge drift. What knowledge drift means is like basically as the information is coming, so the knowledge can keep start changing in a company. For example, if you had a expense policies which said that like you can only redeem up to $200 per night per diem, but then it changes to $300 and all. So that's why knowledge drift is also very important. The third one is risk audit and mitigation, because you do not want sometimes some information to get leaked out. You want to make sure that the right person is able to capture that information and see that, and we are mitigating that. So that's why it's important. Then there's an ROI component because knowledge bots are not free. You have to make sure that you're able to justify that. Why do you need a knowledge bot? Like, what's the problem with the current systems in the house? Like maybe like you're not able to leverage the customer support reps at the level that you want because they're busy tackling many more things. They're inundated. Maybe you don't even have customer rep. And so that's why ROI is extremely important. And finally, by using this AI evals, it's gonna help you measure what is the current baseline that you have so that you can move towards targeted improvement. So these are the things that you care about as a whole before for doing that. Now, having said that, now let's start breaking it down into different parts. Like, what exactly is this knowledge bot? In a nutshell, knowledge bot will have two parts to it. It will have a retrieval component, and second, it will have a generator component. And I will tell you like what this exactly means by quickly creating a block diagram. First of all, we're going to be prepping the data for it. Like there will be a database. From the database, you have to make sure that you are able to break all this information into different small chunks of fixed size or semantic sizes. So what do I mean by that? Like, so when you have a database, you will have a lot of knowledge, knowledge related information. It could be some Word docs, it could be some PDFs, it could be some HTML website. Like, how do you ingest that? Like, so since, as you can imagine, the context window is not unlimited, you have to break down into small chunks. So that's why that's the first thing that you'll do. So you'll be pre-processing this and you're putting them in the chunks. So that's the first step. The next thing what you have to do is that you have to find a way to create like some sense about it. Like there's a concept called like a vector embedding. So how do you build the vector embedding? So first of all, you need to be able to use an LLM to or some techniques to create vector embedding. So you take this LLM and based on this, you create a vector DB. So what's happening here is that the chunks will come into the LLM. LLM will use some kind of an embedding functions, and it's going to start storing this data together. So what will that contain? It will have information around the document, the chunk. I think I'll make it a little bit simpler here. So after you have this information, what's going to be happening is that like, so now your data is coming into this system altogether. So all your data is getting stored. Next thing is we have to have the another flow where the user is going to start querying this data. For that, the way it will work is like, so what the user is doing is that user is using a knowledge bot, let's call it chat bot, or we can call it a knowledge bot. Then that knowledge bot is again going to go to the LLM. And then what's exactly happening here is that like, so the query of the user will go to the knowledge bot, and it's going to go to LLM. And then what LLM is going to do is that LLM is going to look in this database. And what's it going to be looking in the database for? So it's going to be looking it for the query that came in, because that will be able to tell that what kind of data is available. And then since the LLM has some idea about like what kind of data is already available, so it's going to update this query with some additional details to show the embedding for that query also. So that will go it. So now what you see is happening here is you have two different things. One is the document which are there, and then there's a query which came from the user. Now we have the query from the user, and we already have these chunks which are available. So what's going to happen is that the LLM on the runtime, when the query is coming in, like it's going to use the query and it's going to update some additional details, like maybe add some more embedding based on the query, because even the query will have some kind of embedding. It will go into the vector database, and then based on that, it's going to do some kind of a similarity search. So one of the simple similarity search could be cosine similarity. What it's trying to do is like doing some kind of a dot product to figure out like the query and the chunk which are most similar to each other. Maybe show me the top five of them, right? Like that's how the whole search system works, like the retrieval system. It could be cosine similarity, it could be approximate nearest neighbor similarity. So like it's going to be able to find out what those informations are. So after it has all this information available, the next thing that will do is that like it will be ready with a list of like four or five records if we choose to retrieve back five of them. So then the next step will be another LLM. Sometime
So at that point, is that when like if the user asks, "What's our travel policy? Like how much money can I spend per day when I'm traveling for work?" Like that's where it'll go try to find that chunk from the travel policy document.
exactly, yeah. So it's going to try to find that information from the travel policy, find the right chunk, and maybe it's going to give you four or five chunks, because sometimes you need four or five chunks to really come up with a response which makes sense. So it will do that, and then after using that chunk, what will do it is like sometimes it's going to use an LM for doing some kind of another re-ranking. So what that re-ranking could happen is that like it got the chunks, and but then this other LLM, an even more powerful LLM, can say that like, hey, the chunks that you have selected are not correct. Go back into the vector database and find the even most relevant chunks. And so there are a lot of techniques around that. So that's how we will be looking at it. But uh, let's keep it simple for now. Like the way it will be a lot more simpler, but the way it will work is that like, so it's going to again use the user query, because it does have access to user query. It has access to the system prompt. So what exactly is a system prompt? So system prompt is something which you add to the LLMs as a start itself, to tell it to behave, to make sure that it behaves in a proper way. Like for example, a system prompt could be very much on brand. Like for example, if your company like is very casual, so sometimes your system prompt could be like, hey, keep it still casual, but like if it's a very buttoned up company, so that's one. And second, then you can also have a lot of additional things that you can add in the system prompt, like do not try to make up stuff, like do not hallucinate. So of course you will have to put the exact word that you want. So yeah, that's why system prompts are extremely important. And then
And are the system prompts, is it just going to be like a lot of different rules or what does that look like?
yes, those would be some rows. Like you will have some kind of a prompt template. You'll have a long prompt template, and you can add like basically in plain English. And of course, like as you can imagine, this is a very much an iterative process. Like you have to keep on doing it again and again to make sure what you want. But that's how this works. Okay. So after we have this system prompt ready, what we start doing is that like from here, finally the chatbot is going to get a response back, and then user will be able to get an answer back from the chatbot here itself. Uh, so this is how the whole process works. So you'll notice what has happened here. There's a retrieval component because what it did was like it retrieved the information that you need, and eventually the LLM is going to, after the re-ranking is done, is gonna send back the information to the same chatbot, which is called the generated response. So yeah, so that's how the whole process works. So having established that, so there are few metrics that we will start thinking about here. So the way to start thinking about it, like if you think there are
Awesome.
three.
And before we jump into that, um, just curious because I think this makes a lot of sense about how we're going to like display the information to the user. What if like the travel policy document gets updated? Then would the chunks be outdated? Or like how would you make sure that the LLM stays up to date with any updates being made to the database?
Absolutely. So if you have to start thinking about is that you need to have a good data pipelines that are running, and as you can imagine, what can happen is that like sometimes the data pipelines is going to update the database, and then those chunks you'll think that, hey, do I have to reprocess every chunk? You can imagine expensive will that be to process all the chunks. So there are a lot of techniques that you do is like maybe you can focus on only some few things that you want to be reprocessing again, so they'll have a different vector embedded. But yeah, you have to start thinking about your techniques, like what portion of the things that you need to basically rechunk again.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, so if you had some kind of metrics dashboard to measure success for your AI eval or your LLM here for the knowledge bot, just curious, like, I know you have like some business metrics, AI metrics, and system metrics. What are some, maybe one or two metrics from each of these buckets that you would want to make sure you have on some kind of metrics dashboard?
Absolutely. So from business metrics, what I feel are extremely important metrics are like, first of all, that our user is able to complete their work on time. Like there's something called a task completion metric that you care about that. That's one that you care about. The second metric, which is the leadership is going to look for from the ROI, from the AI standpoint, is something called that ROI calculation. The way you think about an ROI calculation that you have to do is called cost saving minus cost of running divided by cost saving. And where does the cost of saving comes from? Cost of saving comes from like the number of queries that you're able to manage now by a chatbot, and assuming the cost of running each query is a lot more lesser compared to you trying to run it using a human. So that's the ROI piece comes from the RAG metrics. You can again come up with so many different metrics that are existing here. But the one which I care about, which is extremely important, is the one is about like hallucination rate, like percentage of contradictory or like something which is not supported. It could be something which is not semantic, something not factual. That's one I'll care about. The second one would be faithfulness. What faithfulness really is all about is like making sure that like the response statements are relevant to the context or not. Like, so if it's not relevant, then it becomes problematic. And then we have our famous precision and recall metrics. So these are the metrics that we care about from the AI metrics category. Finally, we do care about system performance metrics also. One of them is the latency, like how long does it take to get a response back. Number two is throughput, like can it handle 20 to 40,000 people querying the knowledge bot at the same time? And third is cost per query, because the cost per query that we just mentioned will be used to justify your ROI. If your cost per query becomes very high, the ROI will not come. So that's why these are the high level metrics that we care about.
Awesome. And if you just had to pick like a North Star of all these metrics, like which one would you say is the most important that you would have top center of this dashboard?
Sure. What I feel the North Star for this one would be eventually ROI does matter here, because you could think about like some like a more upstream metrics, But like here, this metric is extremely important because here you're able to justify the value that you're getting. So for me, the North Star is still going to be the cost saving percent, the ROI metric that we'll care about.
I see. Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Ankit, for your time here. Really appreciate you sharing your AI evals testing strategy as well as sharing some of these metrics that you would have on your dashboard. And for the viewers who are watching at home, hopefully this AI evals mock interview was helpful for you and for your lessons, for your needs in preparing for your PM interviews. Feel free to check out our free videos on the Liftoff PM channel, product sense, execution, behavioral. We have it all on our channel. And if you're interested in our premium videos because you like what you see in our free videos, click the join button below and we'll see you in the course. Thanks for watching and good luck in your upcoming interviews. All right, jumping into the video real quick after we hit stop recording. Anki was actually showing me how he was using Claude to come up with some kind of metrics dashboard. So Ankit, you generated this image here just from some prompts.
Exactly. So basically, what I did was like I took this prompt here, telling it like here, these are my metrics. Generate a POC for me, like build a yeah. So if you see here, that's exactly what's doing it in real time. It is coding this up, and then eventually is going to uh, create this into a very good prototype that you can really think about, partner with your development team, and then really come to an alignment on how the dashboard will look like. So yeah, it will take some time, but at least
This is really cool. Okay, so it looks like it generated your dashboard here with some cool visuals and it has the North Star metric that you chose.
cost saving, system running costs, completion rate, first attempt repetition. Yeah, exactly. So you see here, yeah, it's not perfect, but like I just put this in the prompt. Yeah, did not put anything else. Like if you had done better prompt engineering, we would have got even a better result from that.
Awesome.